What up? What up? It is Alex, the Fantasy Football Hustler, and I am bringing you the Week 3 starts and sits. We are breaking down every game, every position. Look at the timestamps in the description if you want to jump to any game specifically. Hit the subscribe button if it's your first time here. Go check out all the waiver wire videos that got dropped yesterday, and let's jump in to Thursday Night Football. We have a matchup between the Jets and the New England Patriots. I always talk about the road team first, and we're talking about the Patriots here. Jacoby Brissett, I have no reason to play him unless you're in a 3 QB league or you're just hurt at Superflex. But outside of that, we're not starting Jacoby Brissett. Now, Ramondre, though, of course, I feel like we have to start him even in a bad matchup. Just someone who gets a high percentage of snaps. He's always over 70% of the snaps, and one of the team leaders in targets with 8 targets as well. So I really feel like it's Ramondre that is always going to be a must start for this team. Hunter Henry, I would only start him at tight end if your tight ends suck. It's just a really bad matchup for them. So I know he was super hot last week, but I'm going to start with caution this week. Wide receivers. This is the interesting position for the Patriots because they all suck. We're glad that Polk, for our dynasty teams, that Polk got that touchdown last week, but I almost feel like you can't really start any of these guys. KJ Osborne, he's the guy with the most targets. He has 8, same as Ramondre. Hunter Henry has 15 targets, just to put that into context. So even though I say start him with caution, 12 of those targets came in week 2. So that's why I say start with caution, even though he's got the highest target market share on the team as of right now. Jalen Polk only has 4 targets on the season. Mario Douglas only has 3 targets on the season. So I really don't want to start any of these wide receivers at all. We're just going to skip the wide receivers altogether for the Patriots. And there you have it. There's the first half of the Thursday night game. Now, the other half of the Thursday night game, we got those goddamn Jets. Oh, yeah. Aaron Rodgers finally looking a little bit better after that first game looking like trash. Breece Hall looking very solid. Garrett Wilson, oh, man, a little bit nervous. So, Aaron Rodgers, would I start him? I'm probably leaning on sitting him on a Thursday. I bet the Jets don't have to do much to win this game, and I bet it's just a low-scoring affair. Like all around, the teams know each other pretty well. I think both teams are probably going to play it pretty conservative most of the game. So I'm leaning on sitting Aaron Rodgers, even in a super flex. Like guys like Derek Carr, I've made the move and put Derek Carr in over Aaron Rodgers. Breece Hall, though, start Breece Hall. He's been killing it every single game. He is going to be one of the main focal points. And I know week 1 kind of sucked, but week 2 looking real nice. He's got 14 total targets on the season. Garrett Wilson is the only one who has a higher target market share than him on the Jets. It was really because of week 1. He had 11 targets for Garrett Wilson. He only had 6 this week. I'm nervous about Garrett Wilson. I feel like you got to have the stones to sit him because you drafted him in the second round. And depending on who you have, he's probably just a better option. So I'm going to say you're probably going to start him anyway. So I'm not going to say sit. I'm just going to say that you better have some other guys around him that are more higher upside picks because don't expect a huge game out of Garrett Wilson versus the Patriots. I'm not starting Mike Williams. I'm not starting Allen Lazard. And maybe this is an Allen Lazard game because of the randomness. But outside of that, I don't want to start Allen Lazard with any kind of confidence. And if there's still people who are considering starting Conklin right now, he is only averaging 2 targets a game. So just don't start him at all. Do yourself a favor. All right, we are moving on to Sunday games now. And the first game that we got on the slate is the Giants at the Browns. And oh man, this might be one of the lower scoring games on the week. Probably not going to be starting a lot of players from this game. Newsflash. So Daniel Jones, Danny Pesos last week killed it versus Washington. But I think everybody's going to kill it versus Washington. I'm sitting him versus the Browns. You're not starting any tight ends, newsflash. Devin Singletary, I know he did good versus Washington, but everybody's doing good versus Washington. I do not want to start him versus the Cleveland Browns. And I really don't want to start any of the wide receivers. Neighbors is the only one that I really feel like is even like flex worthy. Wandale, no. Darius Slayton, no. Malik Neighbors, you want to start him in the flex? It really depends on who you have, but he's the only one that I'll say start in a flex role. Now the other side of this ugly game, we got Mr. Deshaun Watson.
Hello, ladies.
I do not want to start him, not in a single QB, maybe in a super flex, but I really don't want to start him. It's looking ugly over there, and I bet they don't have to do a lot to win this game versus the Giants. That's another thing. Jerome Ford. Donta Foreman took a bunch of his work last week, and it's almost making me not want to start Jerome Ford, but the Giants is a really good matchup. So I will say Jerome Ford is flex worthy, but really depends on who you have. But I'm going to say flex worthy. Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy. Those are the only two guys that are even worth starting in the wide receiver spots. And I feel like if I'm going to start one, I want to go with Jerry Jeudy here. I'm going to say just sit Amari Cooper if you can. I know that in some leagues, 12-team leagues, you might not have the luxury. But if you're in the 8 or 10-man league, I'm sitting Amari Cooper. And Jerry Jeudy, I'm probably only starting him in 12-team leagues or higher because this game could be one of those ones where the Browns score like 14 points and win it like 14-7, 14-10, 14-3, something like that. Could be very ugly. And until we have more news on David Njoku, you're just leaving him out. I don't think that he's going to play this week. Jordan Akins is whatever, so I wouldn't really start a tight end from over here as well. And there you go. This game is going to be trash. Make sure you subscribe. Check out all the other games that we're going to be talking about here. The next game we got is those Philadelphia Eagles going down to the Bayou to go visit the Saints. And Jalen Hurts, he's just someone you're never sitting. Barkley, someone that you're never sitting. A.J. Brown, they said last week that he is going to be missing a couple weeks. He's already got the doubtful tag, so hopefully you play on Sleeper where you could just move a guy like that to your IR spot like right now. Devonta Smith, I feel like you just have to start him. I don't want to start Dotson. I don't want to start that Covey dude or nothing like that. Devonta Smith's the only one I'm really starting with any kind of confidence. And even Dallas Goedert. Like, I do not want to start Dallas Goedert. He's always a disappointment. And even in the games where there's kind of nobody like out there, he still only gets 4 targets. Like, that's his cap is 4 or 5 targets. And I just don't like it. So don't start him. Hurts, Barkley, Smith, those are the big 3, starting all of them. Even in a tough matchup, because the Saints have been tough, still starting those 3 with all the confidence in the world this week. Now to the home team, the Saints, who have absolutely been on fire these first 2 weeks of the season. Derek Carr, I feel like even in a single QB league, I want to start him. At least he should be in the conversation with whoever your starter is. So I'm just going to say start him, especially for all the Superflex peeps watching this. Smash start. Alvin Kamara. There's no way that we're sitting Alvin Kamara at this point, right? If you have him, you are deploying him. The most targets that anybody has on the team is Raheed Shaheed. I'm going to start him as well. But Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, they only have 1 less target. Shaheed has 9 on the season, and Kamara and Olave have 8. And I'm going to say start Olave. I know that Shaheed's been the one who's been producing a little bit more, but the targets are there for Olave. It's just been tough matchups. And I'm not saying this week is like a cakewalk because he's got Darius Slay, but I'm going to play him, especially in a 12-man league. I'm going to play Olave over a lot of random waiver wire guys who I think people would be trying to get cute and start over him. So, yeah, I'm going to say start Derek Carr, start Kamara, Raheed Shaheed. He's the guy I'm starting with confidence. And then Olave, yeah, I'm starting as well. Don't start Foster Moreau. Don't do it. Eagles are pretty solid against the tight end. And you look at Foster Moreau, he had 0 targets last week. Taysom Hill was the only tight end who had a target for them last week, and he only had 1. And I'm always leaning on sitting Taysom Hill. So do not start Taysom Hill. Okay. On to the next game. Next game that we got on the docket is going to be the Houston Texans going up against the Minnesota Vikings, or going into Minnesota. And CJ Stroud, of course, we are starting him. Single QB, super flex. He's always going to be in contention of starting. So, yes, CJ Stroud in there like swimwear. The running backs, though, we don't know if Joe Mixon is going to play this week. So you got to monitor all week. Make sure you are here, though. I am going live daily, and we're talking about the news. We're talking about injuries and all that. So make sure you're coming back to find out about Joe Mixon. Now, Dalton Schultz, I'm just going to say don't start. Let's make that easy. Dalton Schultz, don't start. The three wide receivers, though, this three-headed wide receiver trio of Nico, Diggs, and Tank Dell. You really can't sit either of them. You're not sitting Nico. Him and Godwin, they're like the top wide receivers like in the league points-wise right now. Stephon Diggs, I know getting off to a slow start, but he's still playing over 80% of the snaps. There is just a lot of mouths to feed over there. But Nico, he's got 18 targets on the season, and Stephon Diggs has 12. And so he's got second most on the team. Tank Dell, only one target behind Diggs. And this past week, Dell played 69% of the snaps.
69, dudes.
So if anybody's getting the short end of the stick, it's Dell, but barely by 10 to 15% of the snaps. Week 1, 63% of the snaps. Week 2, 69% of the snaps.
69, dudes.
So Nico, Diggs, and Dell, I'm fine starting all of them. The order that I would put them in would be just that: Nico, Diggs, and Dell. He's the one right now. He is Neo. The other side of this game, we got the Minnesota Vikings. And, oh, man, Sam Darnold. It's almost like we got to start him like right now. Maybe not in a single QB, but super flex. I find it hard to believe that you're going to be able to keep Darnold on the bench with some of these bad QB matchups that are out there this week. So Sam Darnold, I am deploying him. Let's start him. Aaron Jones. Get a little bit nervous about the running backs, but I'm going to deploy him in this game. We're going to say start him. Ty Chandler, you got to be a little bit desperate, but I know that because of the running back injuries that are out there, Ty Chandler might be a flex guy for you guys. I'm going to say sit him, even if you are super desperate. Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, guys who we are going to need to monitor all week. If Justin Jefferson plays, of course, we are playing him. Even if Jordan Addison plays, I'm going to say sit him. If Jordan Addison does not play, I'm going to say start Naylor, because he's been getting some work. And that's like all that we can ask for out of a dart throw flex guy, because that's really what Naylor is, like a dart throw flex guy at best. But if you got to dive that far down, I'm okay starting him. But we must monitor this week's injury report with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison. And you're not playing a tight end like probably ever for this team. Yeah, just no reason to. On to the next game. Next game on the early slate on Sunday is going to be the Denver Broncos going into Tampa Bay to play those Bucs. And should we just sit everybody from the Broncos? Is that like an easy assessment? Just sit everybody, don't start anybody. Not starting Bo Nix, even in a super flex. Javonte, it's laughable that people still want to start him. He must be super desperate. Jaleel McLaughlin, I don't know why people are like thinking about starting him or accepting trades with him. I don't want it. Cortland Sutton, he's sucked so far. And I think if I'm going to start one of these guys, it's going to be Josh Reynolds. And that's even in a super dart throw flex. And Greg Dulcich, I don't want to start. No. So really, Josh Reynolds would be the only one in a super deep league with maybe a couple flexes, something like that. Outside of that, I'd want no parts of the Denver Broncos. Now here we go. The other side of the coin. This coin's a little bit nicer for sure, because Baker's like the number one QB in fantasy right now. So of course you are starting him. Rachaad White, we need to monitor practice and injury reports for him. If he plays, I'm going to say play him. I am a little bit nervous with the injury and with the Broncos matchup. It's not horrible, but Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin, you are starting for sure. Mike Evans is going to be going up against Patrick Surtain Jr. I am super nervous about that matchup for him. I think he's still going to be able to do things in the red zone, but I don't think that we should expect a high amount of yardage in this game. But I feel like you're starting Mike Evans either way, because at any given time, he can go for 2 touchdowns. And even if he only gets you 30, 40, 50 yards, but he locks down the 2 touchdowns, he's not hurting you, and he's going to be better than some random dart throws you're going to throw in. Jalen McMillan, only a start in a super deep league. Cade Otton, I don't want to start him. But yeah, Baker, Evans, maybe. Godwin, full go for sure. Let's do it. Next on the early slate of Sunday games, we got the Packers going up against the Tennessee Titans. And did they just mirror the Jets' schedule? Why are the Packers playing the Titans right after the Jets just played them? Jordan Love, they said he's missing multiple weeks, so we should just assume that he's not going to be playing this week. It's going to be Malik Willis, and I would just sit Malik Willis. Yeah, versus his old team. I bet his team's going to want to kill him out there. Josh Jacobs, we got to start him. They give him any kind of workload that they did last week, it's going to be at least good enough to keep a high floor. No touchdowns last week. Hopefully that changes this week for him. I really don't want to start like any of the wide receivers. Like, I really don't. Whoever is covered by L'Jarius Sneed, they're not going to get much. And yeah, just don't do it. Just don't start anybody off of the Packers this week except for Josh Jacobs. It really sucks. Now to the ugly side of this game. Oh, wait, was that the Packers or the Titans? Yeah, they're both ugly. They're both ugly. Will Levis, sit him. He's a bum.
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
I would start Tony Pollard. I'm super nervous about Calvin Ridley, but I'm going to say start him, because if they try to make him Debo light, give him these rushes, give him these jet sweeps, things like that, like they did last week that he scored a touchdown on, it's going to be very nice. It is going to be very nice. But we're definitely not starting Hopkins. If you still roster him in just like a regular league, not a deep league, not a dynasty, anything like that, just get him off of there. He's wasting space on your team. He's not the Hopkins of old. Tyler Boyd, same thing. Chig Okonkwo, no, I don't want it. I don't want him playing. Get him off of your team. Find someone better. There's got to be someone better. There must be. Let's keep moseying on down the road. Subscribe if you have not. Hit that subscribe button. The Bears and the Colts, 2 of the quarterbacks that I've hated on heavily. Looks like I was right about Caleb Williams, at least early on in his career and early on in this season. I'm sure things will change someday. I don't think it's going to be this day, though, this week when he's going up against the Colts in Indianapolis. I don't know why, but teams just have a hard time playing in Indy. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's some in the water. Who knows? But Caleb, sit him. Please do yourself a favor and sit him. DeAndre Swift. Man, the Colts, they are like one of the worst run defenses in the league right now. So Swift, I would say in a flex role, I'm okay with it. DJ, I want to score more. He wants to score very badly. I'm going to say start DJ Moore. He's had 2 really bad matchups to start the season, but I'm going to say start him in this game. This is finally like an okay-ish like matchup for him, not where he's going up against like Stingley or just one of the top corners like in the league. So yeah, DJ Moore, we're going to start. Keenan Allen, we got to monitor. Like, he's hurt. He's broken. Okay. I don't want to start him, even if he does play. Rome Odunze, kind of leaning on sitting him like as well, even if he does play. I don't think Caleb is going to do good enough right away to where he's even going to be able to go through progressions. And I'm sure it's DJ Moore's number that gets called the most. And Cole Kmet, if you're starting Cole Kmet right now, oh man, just smack yourself right across the face and don't start Cole Kmet. He sucks. He's a bum.
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
Let's get to the other side of the ball. Let's jump over to the Colts. Anthony Richardson. I'm going to say to sit him. It's not just because he played like trash like last week. And being at home is probably like one of the only reasons why I'm even leaning on saying, depending on who you have, maybe I'd start him, but I'm still leaning on sit. Going up against the Bears. The Bears do have a pretty tough defense, okay? Look at what they did last week to CJ Stroud. At least slowed him down a little bit. And Anthony Richardson, he can throw a big old greasy pick. And the secondary of the Bears is very nice. The way that the Bears have been slacking this year is with their pass rush and not being able to get to the quarterbacks all that much. So if they could change that versus Anthony Richardson, he's going to be in for a tough time. Jonathan Taylor. I will start. I feel like we're just never going to sit Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman Jr. I finally will start him. Over the last 2 weeks, he had Derek Stingley and Jair Alexander, and those are two of the toughest wide receiver cornerback matchups that you can have. So I was leaning on the side of sitting him, or at least even if you didn't have the stones to sit him, at least knowing that he's going to have a shit game. So you got to go higher upside guys in other places. This is finally the first game where I feel like I know they have Jalen Johnson over there. I know they got Stevenson. I know they got Kyler Gordon. Trust me, I know all the cornerbacks that they have. Trust me. I still say deploy Michael Pittman Jr. because it's finally one of the easier matchups that he got. The Bears secondary is good as a whole, but they don't have any like super shut down like cornerbacks though. So I'm going to say finally deploy Michael Pittman. And if you're going to take a dart throw, Alec Pierce would be that super late flex dart throw that I am okay playing as well. Kyle Granson, do not play. Mo Alley Smallcocks, do not play. On to the next game. Another early game that we got on Sunday. The Chargers going to Steel Town. Let's go. And Justin Herbert, we got to monitor him all week. We must monitor. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, go join our community, a private fantasy community at Patreon at 420crew.com, because any kind of relevant news like that, I'm always posting. You don't have to follow everybody on the internet. You literally just have to follow me, and that's it. And I keep everybody in tune with all the news. And if you're here on the live streams, you're going to get it like literally in real time as we're getting this news. If Justin Herbert doesn't play, you're sitting everybody. I'm already leaning on not playing too many people from the Chargers in this game. J.K. Dobbins, Gus Edwards, they're both sits for me. Steelers, we already know what kind of defense they got. The Chargers faced two cupcake defenses in the first 2 weeks as far as running back matchups. Like Josh Palmer, why is he even listed as the number one wide receiver over here? Do not play him. Quentin Johnston, I'm leaning on not playing him. I know people are going to want to play him. He still only had 5 receptions. Just 2 of them happened to go for touchdowns, and it was against one of the worst defenses in the entire league. So I'm just leaning on sitting everybody in this game. And the Steelers, they're going to whoop on the Chargers this week. Chargers, they're notorious for going to the East Coast and not playing real well. I know last week versus the Panthers might not seem like the case for them, but watch. They're going to go play the Steelers, and they're going up against a really good defense now. And you're going to be happy when you sit everybody. J.K. Dobbins would be the only one that if I was desperate at running back that I would play. And I know there's a lot of desperate people with the running back position. Here we go. The Steelers. It's ugly. Justin Fields. I don't want to start him. I bet they don't have to do much to beat the Chargers. Najee. He is more of a flex guy than an RB2, and I'm going to lean on even sitting him if you can. George Pickens going up against Asante Samuel Jr. I would say pump the brakes on George Pickens. I know he's the only guy that they have, and that's why I would even lean on playing him as a flex play. But Asante Samuel Jr., he is handling biz over there. He's turning into one of the better cornerbacks in the league. So that's why I'm going to say sit George Pickens. I bet they don't have to do much. And Freiermuth really hasn't been worth starting. So everybody in this game, I really don't like. And I bet you that this game is one of the lower scoring games of the entire weekend. All right. We have made it through the early slate of Sunday games. Let's get to the afternoon slate. And if you have not hit that subscribe button, shame on you. If you have not hit the like button, do it. Do it now. Do it now. And leave a comment so I know who's watching out there. Appreciate you. Appreciate you. And we got the Dolphins going to Seattle to face those Seahawks. And Skyler, that's the projected starter as of right now. I know people might be like, hey, but they just signed Tyler Huntley. Come on, man. Snoop Huntley. Is he really that good? Probably not. Tua, he's on the IR. So anyone who didn't hear the Tua news after getting that El Concusto last week, yeah, put Tua on the IR. And so he's at least there for 4 weeks. He said that he's not retiring, though. I'm not starting Skylar Thompson. I am starting A-Chain. I feel like we can't sit him like no matter what. Same with Tyreek. Like we made our bed with Tyreek. We're sitting in it. And Mike McDaniels better figure out how to get Tyreek Hill involved. Now, Waddle's a different story. And I feel like Waddle, he's almost should be started even with this bad quarterback situation because most teams are going to key in on Tyreek Hill. So it should just leave him with better defensive matchups, more openings, more opportunities. So I'm going to say Tyreek Hill, we're not sitting him. Let's just be honest. Like, we're not going to sit him unless you're like in an 8-man league or something like that. You're probably not sitting him. You have to have great options to even warrant putting him on the bench. Jalen Waddle, more of a flex guy, but I will say start him. I don't know about Jonnu. I know that the Seahawks, after last week, they looked really bad against the tight ends because of Hunter Henry. And I feel like Jonnu, with the shitty landscape of the tight ends, I almost feel like you have to start him because I bet he is going to be an outlet for Skyler. And it's ugly. Other side of the ball here, we got the Seahawks and Geno. He's been looking solid. You got to start Geno. Ken Walker, oh man, make sure you subscribe because you need to be hearing about the news that's going on with him, because as of right now, we just have no idea. And Chardonnay, I feel like I am going to start him if Ken Walker doesn't play, but we got to know if Ken Walker is playing or not playing. DK, JSN, Tyler Lockett. Oh, man. Deploy them all. Just deploy them all in a game like this because no matter what, the Seahawks are going to keep throwing. And Tyler Lockett would be the one, especially after last week. Man, it sucks. Week 1, he leads the team in targets. Week 2, he's like the lowest in targets out of all of them. So I really feel like it's the game script is going to change based on the way that the defense kind of schemes against the teams. And DK, he's just too good to sit. Even if he does get Jalen Ramsey, he can still get some work in the red zone and the end zone. JSN, he had an insane target market share last week, like what, 37%? And Lockett, not the best, but look at what he did in week 1. So I feel like it could go both ways with all these guys, just hit or miss. But I feel like the way that they've been throwing, all could have a good opportunity. So DK, he's a start. JSN and Lockett, those guys are flex guys for me, but I would start them in flex roles. Oh, man. One of the reasons why I don't like doing starts and sits on every single game is because sometimes we got games like the Panthers and the Raiders. That's what we're going to talk about now. The new news is Andy Dalton has taken over as the starter. Bryce Young has been benched because he sucks, man. He is a bum.
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
It's not all his fault because the Panthers just suck in general. Andy Dalton, only in a super flex would I start him, and I still need to be a little bit desperate. Do your due diligence, go pick him up, but I really don't want to start him. Chuba Hubbard going up against the Raiders. I know the Raiders, I think they're overproducing on defense, but I know they could still be had. But I don't want Chuba either way, or Miles Sanders, or Raheem. Don't start him. Deontay Johnson, it's a decent matchup. I don't want to start him, though. If I'm going to start anybody, it's going to be Adam Thielen. You look at last year, Adam Thielen got a crazy bump when Dalton came back in for a few games. If I'm going to start anybody, it's going to be Adam Thielen because Deontay drops in. He's a bum.
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
And I hope you guys aren't starting Mingo or Leggett or Tommy Tremble or anything like that. But if you are planning on it, don't do it. Don't do it. To the Raiders side of things, you got to start Gardner Minshew against the Panthers. Teams have been destroying the Panthers, and so that means you're going to start Devontae Adams. I know they have some good cornerbacks over there, but Devontae Adams is a must start versus this Panthers team. Jacoby Myers, I'm almost wanting to throw him in a flex role as well. Brock Bowers, you're not sitting Brock Bowers anymore. The way that Gardner Minshew has been targeting him, and now going up against potentially the worst team against defending the tight end, Brock Bowers is a must start for sure. And Zamir White, I know it's been ugly for Zamir White, and I know it's been ugly for Alexander Madison. I'm starting Zamir White, more of a flex role, but I will start him. And Alexander Madison, I'm still leaning on not starting him. But yeah, the Raiders at home versus the Panthers, who've been giving up the booty to everybody. Let's go. Deploy. This game divisional game, usually a really good game. I think it's going to be really ugly this time. Talking about the San Francisco 49ers going into SoFi to play the Los Angeles Rams. Single QB league, I'm sitting Brock Purdy. Super flex, probably have no choice but to play him. Jordan Mason. It's going to be all him in this game. I feel like this is going to be one of those super grinded out, ground and pound games. Neither team might have to do much to win this game. The Rams, they're missing players. 49ers, they're missing players. They're missing players like Debo. So I feel like you have to start Brandon Ayuk just because who else are going to throw it to? It's him and George Kittle, and you really got to play both of those guys. And Juwan Man Jennings, he is a super dart throw flex. That's the only capacity that I would start him in. So if you're desperate for a flex, maybe I would go that route. But yeah, it's Jordan Mason, it's Brandon Ayuk, and it's George Kittle. Those are the three guys that I'm starting. Super flex, you probably have to start Brock Purdy. But if you have a Derek Carr or something, start Derek Carr over Brock Purdy and Superflex. Other side of this divisional game here, we got Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Oh, man. And there's going to be no Puka. He's on IR. And Cooper Kupp, they already said he was going to miss a couple weeks. So it's Demarcus Robinson and Tyler Johnson and Jordan Whittington. I don't want to play any of them, but if I'm forced to choose, Demarcus Robinson would be the guy. Remember, also, do not start Parkinson. If you picked him up as a flavor of the week, like last week, just get rid of him because they're going up against the Niners. The Niners do not give up like anything to the tight ends. It's very rare. Kyren, I feel like you got to play him at least in a flex role. If you're in an 8-man league, like maybe not, but 10-man league, 12-man league with a lot of these injuries and the shitty running back play, yeah, you got to play him. It is what it is. And there's been a lot of talk about Corum, and maybe he's someone that you guys want to go add on your bench. I'm not too excited about it. Either way, it's going to be more of a long-term add unless Kyren actually gets hurt or something. Outside of that, Blake Corum's not really going to be a thing anytime soon. Maybe second half of the season, but we got some games to go before the second half of the season. There we go. And that's all I got to say about this divisional game. Now, this should be one of the more exciting games of the second half of the Sunday games. We got the Lions going to Arizona to play the Cardinals. Jared Goff, man, he's been a disappointment. For a single QB, I'm probably not starting him. Superflex, I feel like you're starting him no matter what. Jahmyr Gibbs and Montgomery. I feel like you're starting both of those guys in a game like this. Jameson Williams, I feel like you got to start him the way that he's been getting the ball thrown to him. And Amon-Ra being a little bit banged up. As long as he plays, we're going to have to monitor his practice. And if he's limited on Wednesday, don't worry about it. Even if he's limited on Wednesday and Thursday, don't worry about it. As long as he gets a full go on Friday, he is going to be good to go. And Sam Laporta, I feel like we got to play him, right? Didn't come to game 3 to just be sitting him already. And if he shits the bed again, I'm sure we're not just going to be starting him just to start him, but I feel like we got to start him. So start him, Laporta. Let's get it. Now let's jump over to the Arizona Cardinals, who were hitting everywhere at all angles last week. Kyler, you must start him. Single QB, super flex. You better be starting him. James Conner, you got to start him. You got to start him. Even if it's just a flex, you got to start him. Marvin Harrison Jr. I said we just want to see him break out one game, and then he's just going to be a full-blown start like every single week. I know they have some solid cornerbacks for the Lions, but I'm still starting Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm not starting Michael Wilson, not starting Greg Dortch. And Trey McBride, he's like unsittable at this point because look at what he's doing compared to Kelsey, Laporta, and like all the other tight ends like out there. You got to start him. You got to start him. The tight end landscape is so bad that Trey McBride's one of those shiny pieces right now. Here we go. Here we go with the last game on the afternoon slate, and it is the Ravens going into Jerry World to take on the Cowboys. Lamar, you're probably starting him. Superflex, you're for sure starting him. Single QB, maybe you might want to start someone else, but look at what Derek Carr did to them last week. So I'm starting Lamar Jackson. Derrick Henry, I'm starting him versus the Cowboys and their bad run defense. Zay Flowers, a little bit nervous about starting him, but he's like the only pass catcher I feel is a locked and loaded starter like for them most weeks. And so even if it's just a flex play where you put in Zay, start him. as a flex. Rashad Bateman, nope. Nelson Aguilar, nope. We're not messing with anybody else. Nobody gets any volume like over there. Like even like Justice, I know people are going to be like, oh, he's going to get a little bit of volume here and there. I'm not starting Justice Hill. Mark Andrews and Likely. This is going to be a question that everybody has every single week. And even though Likely was the guy week 1, I still think Mark Andrews is going to play more percentage of snaps and get more targets when it's all said and done. There are times where Mark Andrews' old ass is going to get hurt and Likely will be in there and maybe get a couple catches. But I think it comes down to that. It's not just going to be Likely outright. Now to the home team, those crazy Cowboys. Dak, he's been mediocre, to say the least, over the last couple weeks. And I'm still going to say start him in a super flex. I almost feel like you have no like options on super flex. Probably going to have to start him. Single QB, though, it really depends on who you have. Because like guys like Baker Mayfield, I'd probably start over like Dak this week. Rico Dowdle, we're not this experiment. Like Rico's almost about to be cuttable in leagues. So no Rico. Zeke, you can always kind of start Zeke because of the red zone, but he's more of a flex guy, if anything, right now. CD Lamb, you're starting. Jake Ferguson, we got to see what the hell's happening with him if he doesn't play. Shoemaker, maybe like you have to be desperate. Like he did get a handful of points last week, but I'm not excited about starting him against the Ravens, though, specifically. And because look what it's ugly. It's ugly when you play the Ravens and deploying the tight ends. And Cooks, I'm just not excited about him. I'm just not excited about Cooks. And Tolbert, maybe a dart throw for like super deep leagues, but that's like it. And I know I said that Ravens are usually good against the tight end. Not everyone's Brock Bowers where they're like force feeding it to the tight end. I don't think Shoemaker is going to get force fed. And that's the last game on the afternoon slate here. We got 3 more games to talk about: Sunday Night Football and 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Hit that subscribe button and stay tuned. And we have made it all the way to Sunday Night Football. Let's hope that this game lives up to the hype, because Patrick Mahomes, even though the Chiefs have been winning and their team has lived up to the hype, as far as fantasy football goes, really the only guy that I feel like we can start with 100% confidence is going to be Rashee Rice. Outside of that, we got no Pacheco anymore. They said he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks. So what we were talking about on the stream yesterday, we were right with our prediction of what it was going to be. I really don't want to start Carson Steele. I really don't want to start Samaje P. Ryan. If you guys picked up Kareem Hunt and are even thinking about starting him,
But oh no, there ain't no way that's gonna happen.
Don't do it to yourself, please. Save yourself from yourself and don't do it, okay? Patrick Mahomes, I'm starting in a super flex. I'm leaning on sitting him in a single QB the way that he's been playing over the last couple weeks, and because the Falcons have a really nice secondary. Xavier Worthy. The thing that sucks about Xavier Worthy is he scored 2 touchdowns in week 1, and like the people who didn't get those points were chasing those points. The people who did get those points were chasing those points. He's not even being deployed at 70% of the snaps. He has 7 targets on the season and really even split, obviously. But I really think that's where he's going to get capped, though. Like 3 to 5 touches a game. He's going to have to be really efficient. Sometimes he will be, sometimes he won't be. And I'm just going to say sit him in this one. Deeper flex worthy, sure. But I'm going to say sit him unless it's just a dart throw like flex. Travis Kelce. Oh, man. What do we do with Travis Kelce? I'll tell you what we do with him. We give him 1 more week. We give him 1 more week before we start thinking about potentially like benching him, because he's just too good in the overall scheme of things. I know it's been horrible like this year. Falcons, they are middle of the road in giving up points to the tight end. Week 1, they don't give up too much, but they're going up against Pittsburgh week 1. And Like Freiermuth has been like non-existent. But then week 2, they give up a decent-ish performance to the tight ends over there. And yeah, I think this is going to be the breakout game for Kelsey. And I feel it on Sunday night. Come on, man. Let's cross our fingers, because if he doesn't this game, we might be thinking about benching your ass next week. And here we go with the home team, the Falcons. Kirk Cousins. A lot of people might say sick Kirk Cousins, but as of right now, the Chiefs are giving up second most points to fantasy QB. So I'm going to say start Kirk Cousins. We're not sitting Bijan no matter what. We already know that. And if they're giving up a bunch of points to the quarterbacks, they're probably usually giving up some points to the wide receivers like as well. We just got to be smart with this. We really do, because we got Drake London, we got Mooney, and we got Ray McLeod over there. And if you want to throw Kyle Pitts in the mix of these pass catchers, we can. And as of right now, the Chiefs, they're giving up the most points to the tight ends. So I'm going to say start Kyle Pitts for sure. Now, Drake London and Darnell Mooney and Ray McLeod. I feel like I want to start Drake London and I want to flex Mooney. And that's how I would be thinking about that. Ray McLeod, that's a good story and all that. And he's going to be in there on a bunch of snaps where they're deploying 3 wide receivers. But outside of that, I think Mooney is going to be the guy that they're going to use a little bit more creatively and should have more targets. And I really don't want to start Mooney's. It's really just a flex, if anything. And I think they're going to have to throw it a bunch because of the Chiefs, just in general. Anytime you go up against the Chiefs, it's like teams know they're going to have to throw a lot. So let's be ready for it. Here we go. Sunday Night Football. We've made it all the way to Monday Night Football. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Do not forget, there are 2 Monday Night Football games this week. Two Monday Night Football games, double the fun. Let's get it. The first one is between the Jags and the Bills. Jags are going to Buffalo. Going to be a tough matchup for these Jags. Trevor Lawrence, single QB, sitting them. Superflex, I'm still leaning on sitting him. Travis Etienne, man, it's going to be a tough game. I know A-Chain did his thing last week, but Travis Etienne doesn't seem like he's A-Chain. But I'm going to say start him because it's ugly for running backs right now. Christian Kirk. I don't know if we get a bounce back game from him this week, but I'm going to say start him in a dart throw flex capacity. Evan Ingram, we have no idea what's going on with him and that hamstring of his. So sit him unless things change. And unless you're trying to get some Strange in your life, you're not really going to be starting Brenton Strange either. Gabe Davis, Brian Thomas Jr., I really do not want to start those guys like at all. And even Christian Kirk, dart throw, okay? Bills, they're giving up the least amount of points to the wide receivers, okay? So like Kirk is like literally just like a dart throw like guy this week. It's going to be ugly for the Jags going into Buffalo. It really is. Let's jump over to the home team. And first, we're going to talk about Josh Allen. You're playing him, right? What more to say? Jacksonville, they're giving up top 10 numbers to the QBs. So we play Josh Allen. Now, James Cook, after a week like last week, it's going to be tough to sit him. But I will say that the Jags, I think it's because the quarterbacks are doing so good that the running backs really haven't been eating on the Jaguars. They're giving up bottom 10 numbers in points given up to the running backs. So do that with what you will, because I feel like everyone's starting James Cook after last week, right? I don't think I'd have the stones to sit him, but the Jags are very shisty in giving up points to the running backs. So just remember that. Now, for the wide receivers, they have been giving up a bunch of booty to the wide receivers. Is this the week that I want to start Keon Coleman? I don't think so. Is this the week I want to start Mac Hollins? I don't think so. I think the only guy we're starting, and this is flex-worthy contention, is going to be Shakir. We know that sooner or later Keon Coleman's probably going to break out, but he's getting punked by cornerbacks out there, just like he was in the preseason. So I want to sit him until further notice. I want to see him do it, and then I'll consider getting him in there. But even going up against a weaker cornerback room, I still don't want to start him, man. I'm too nervous. You want to get goosed by him again? I don't. So we ain't doing it. Don't start him. As of right now, he's a bum.
He's a bum. He was a bum then, and he's a bum now.
And Dalton Kincaid, last one here. Jaguars have been giving up like no points to the tight ends. Like, I know they played Seattle and they played Cleveland and not really the best like tight ends, but they've given up like the 4th lowest points to tight ends, and that could be because of the teams that they played. So if you're starting Dalton Kincaid because there's no other options, I don't want to pick up some bullshit waiver wire tight end. I'll just play Dalton Kincaid. Just make sure that the players around them shoot for the moon with those guys, because Dalton Kincaid, I'm not expecting a big game out of him at all. We made it. We made it all the way to the last Monday Night Football game, because we have 2 Monday Night Football games this week. And we got the Commandos going up against the Bengals. I don't know which matchup is going to be better out of the first 2, but I'm excited about this one. Now, Jaden Daniels, single QB. I'm probably not starting him unless it is one of the 4-point passing, and I guess that is like the most popular for the casual people out there, so maybe you will start him there. The Bengals, they've been pretty tough about giving up points to the QB, so I'm really not super excited about starting him. Super flex, I'm probably going to do it, but single QB, I just want to go a different direction. Now, running backs, Brian Robinson Jr. I'm going to start him in a flex. Maybe it just depends on who you have like on your squad, because the Bengals, they haven't been pushovers as far as the running backs go. And I'm not really super excited about playing Austin Eckler either. Those are both like flex guys to me, and it really depends on who you have on your team. Oh, now Scary Terry. Oh, man. Scary Terry, Luke McCaffrey. We're just sitting them both. I don't want either one of them in this game. It's probably going to be a very low scoring game on both sides of the ball. And I don't want to start anybody like versus them. I really don't. And then the wide receivers and then the tight ends. The Bengals are literally giving up the least amount of points to the tight ends. And they played New England and they played Kansas City. They played Hunter Henry, who balled out last week, not so much in the first week. And then Travis Kelce, they held him down for one of the games. So, yeah, we're definitely not starting Zach Ertz in any capacity. It's a rough matchup this week for Washington. It really is. So, yeah, let's just bench everyone that you can. Maybe a B-Rob or an Austin Eckler if you need a flex guy who gets a couple receptions. But, yeah, I'm nervous about playing anybody in Washington altogether this week. Bengals, they may not be the best offensively, but they've stepped it up defensively. We did it. We made it through. This is team 32, and we made it through all 16 games. Appreciate you guys. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button. If you haven't turned on the notifications, do that now. If you haven't hit the like button, do that now. Washington is going to be one of those teams you want to start everybody against, because guess what? For the QBs, the points that Washington's been giving up, they're only giving up the most QB points out there. So you're definitely going to be starting him. Now, Zach Moss. We saw last week Devin Singletary got a touchdown. Who's giving up the 3rd most points? 4th most points is what it looks like to running backs. Washington. So we're going to start Zach Moss. I'm not saying start Chase Brown, but I bet you this is the Chase Brown breakout game. I bet you it is, because teams literally do whatever they want on Washington. For the wide receivers, man, it sucks that we don't know what's happening with T. Higgins. And if T. Higgins comes back and plays, I'm going to start him and Jamar Chase. You know why? Because Washington is giving up the 2nd most points to wide receivers right now. Like literally anybody and everybody is doing whatever they want to the Commandos. They're caught with their pants down right now. The Commandos are, for sure. And even Yoshi, do I want to start him? No, I don't. But if Higgins doesn't play and I need a dart throw flex guy, Yoshi would be that guy, because who's giving up the 2nd most points to wide receivers? It is the Commandos. Now, Mike Gesicki. If you need a tight end, I would say go ahead, get Gesicki with it. Washington's like middle of the road. They give up so much booty to the running backs and the wide receivers. It's like teams don't even need to deploy the tight end like against them, because they're doing like so good. So Gesicki, there's way worse matchups out there. So I would be willing to start him. It all depends on who you have. Like I said, it's a middle of the road type of matchup. We made it all the way to the end. I cannot believe it. If you're watching this on replay, go check out all the waiver wire videos. If you're watching this live on Wednesday morning, make sure you guys go check out all those waiver wire videos. And I'm sure some of them will be popping up like right now. So subscribe and click one of those videos that's popping up right now. Click it.